Great to see you both. How are you,
Uh,
Mike?
oh, busy. And which is good. Yeah, we're sort of hard launching everything soon and everything happening at once.
Yeah,
So
oh, it keeps us young.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah,
hoping to be in Belgium for the solar eclipse mailing list meeting, but I don't
yeah.
think I'm going to make it.
Well, it's a
So
long trip.
yeah, and you are where are you?
I'm now in Belgium, in Ostende, so at the coast. But next week I'm in Munich with Ezo and Garsing, and the week after I'm at CERN in Geneva. So I'm traveling everywhere.
You're getting keeping busy too.
Keep me busy. It keeps me
Yeah.
young. How are you, my son?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm also like a lot of things to fix. I'm writing a lot of papers, so that's why I disappeared. Because I have two papers. I wish I was like back and forth from the journal. I need to do this, do that. And also I was working with the university, so I was really gone from outreach for a while. But I'm still doing a lot of things, but not as before because of the time restriction, job restriction. I was also in China and then I went back from China. I went to the States and then I went back. So I was really traveling a
Well,
lot.
I saw it that you travel the
Yeah,
world
because of
around.
work. So please let me introduce for you someone which is very important, which is Abdelfedi Morcos. He's from Egypt and he's a very good friend of mine for many years. And he's professor in astronomy and also astrophysics. So, Professor Abdelfedi, you can just introduce yourself because I'm not, even if I'm gonna talk to tomorrow, I'm not gonna describe you into words. So please go ahead and yeah, you can just introduce yourself to Mike and Jean-Pierre.
No.
Jean-Pierre, go ahead.
Yeah, we hear you.
Uh, okay, wait a minute. Something's wrong on my end. Let me, I didn't hear you, Maisa.
Ustad Abdelfedi, we can hear you. Ustad Morpas, we can hear you. You can just introduce yourself if you want.
Okay, thank you, Maisa, for the introduction, which is so astonishing and nice. Really, thank you. Really, was happy really to know you and see you multi times. Waiting to see you in South Africa, but for my bad luck, I didn't see you. Really, it is my honor now to attend the lecture. Uh, I am nowadays is the president of National Committee of Astronomy and Space Science because essentially I'm emeritus professor in National Research Institute for Astronomy and Geophysics. Really, I'll be happy for listening the astonishing lecture now. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thanks so much, Ustad Morcas. Yeah, fortunately, I was not in the conference in South Africa, but yeah, I saw some colleague from Morocco, from other also African country. They were there. I wasn't able to join because also I didn't manage to have a funding for traveling. Yeah, but we will definitely find opportunity either in Egypt or somewhere else. So definitely we'll meet again.
Yeah, uh, we are going to wait you, inshallah. And there is Shao meeting. It will be in the next time here in Egypt. For this reason, we are going to wait you here in Egypt. Okay,
Oh,
you are
thank you so
welcome at any
much.
time. Okay,
Yeah, thank you so much. That's very gentle. Thank you so much.
thank you for your kind sense.
All right, so I think we can start. We are live streaming in the YouTube channel of the Tunisian Association of Young Astronomer. So people are following, following in the YouTube channel. So what we're gonna do, Mike, I will introduce you using the short video that you sent me, and then I will just give you the floor. You can start sharing your screen after the introduction, and then I'm gonna collect the question from the social media and also from the Facebook, and we're gonna have Q&A session by the end of your lecture. And yeah, people here also are very welcome to join, to discuss, or to raise their hand if they have question. So welcome everyone for Astro Talk, and today our guest is Mike Simmons. Yeah, I'm gonna talk a lot about Mike, but I know him like since 2016, if I'm not wrong. I think even before. We met the first time in Tunisia. He came to Tunisia to for an astronomical conference, and I got the opportunity to meet him so in person. So basically, Mike Simons is a retired biomedical researcher and at the School of Medicine at the University of California, Los Angeles. Since retiring in 2012, he has turned it largely to another passion, which is astronomy and astrophysics. Mike have been an amateur astronomer and outreach leader for more than 40 years, and he loves sharing the sky with others. Mike's outreach effort in astronomy went international following a trip to Iran to the solar eclipse of 1999. He has returned with Western to observe rare celestial event alongside hundreds of Iranian amateur astronomers. He later traveled to Iraq with observing equipment donated by American astronomers to their enthusiastic but isolated Kurdish counterpart, recognizing astronomy as universal interest that transcend cultural difference. Mike founded Astronomy Without Border in 2016, in which I was also enrolled in his activity when I was in Tunisia, to unite astronomy and space enthusiasts worldwide through their common interest. He is currently an affiliate research scientist at the Blue Marble Space Institute of Science, where he is creating a program addressing issue of diversity and inclusion, using astronomy and space astronomy for equity. He is a founder, a member of Overview Institute, a member of board director of the International Dark Sky Association, serves in the outreach committee of the African Astronomical Society and the IAU Working Group Diversity and Inclusion. He regularly gives a presentation both in the stateside and abroad in using astronomy to improve international relations and reduce inequality. Mike has received numerous awards for his amazing work in the field, including having a minor planet with his name, Simmons, with the code 22249 named in his honor in 2003. Mike was also awarded the prestigious 2014 Gabriel and Camille Flammarion Prize from la Société Astronomique de France for setting a worldwide example that astronomy does transcend political and cultural border. I'm so happy to host Mike today and to give a lecture here in the AstroTalk project to talk about his project, astronomy equity and also equality for everyone. So, Mike, you can please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mauricia. I had hoped you'd cut that bio down. Okay, so I should have edited it down to something more reasonable for you. But it's enough about me, because what I do is really to help people around the world, like you, working with Jean-Pierre and others. And what I'd like to do now is to talk about how I have distilled down well, it's now 50 years I've been in outreach. So, and the international into the programs that I'm really focused on that I think are the best things that we can do now in order to use astronomy to make the world a better place and to help people around the world. So let me start with, let's see, I need to screen share now. And well, as you mentioned, I did get the chance to meet you and many others in Tunisia. I've been to Tunisia twice now for astronomy. And this one, this was the last one when we were down in the south of, on the edge of the Sahara. And of course, we needed to visit a Star Wars set there. So, which is what we did. And I wanted to just share just a few pictures from this trip before going on. And here we are getting ready for our trip into the Sahara Desert. And I don't know if you can recognize the people there, but here we are unmasked. So there you are, and there I am getting ready to go. So this was a really, really fun trip meeting all the young astronomers there. And it's great to have seen how what you've accomplished in the meantime, Isa. So now, okay, so a title slide, and I apologize that I have getting over something, so I have a little bit of a throat thing here, so I will try to mute myself once in a while. Okay, then. So astronomy for equity. Well, let's first talk about what that means. I mean, we know what astronomy is, but let's talk about equity and how equity is not the same thing as equality. And this is my favorite slide about this. Equality means giving everybody a boost, but not everybody needs it. What we need to do is to give everybody the same opportunities. So those people who are in sub-Saharan Africa and don't have a chance to get the education they need are behind in their life course and will never be able to catch up with people. And so that's what equity is about, is being able to have the same starting point, if at all possible. So why do we use astronomy for this? Well, this is I don't know the person who did this, and I wouldn't identify him because this is a common thing. But this is what we're trying to deal with right now, is why do we want to use astronomy for that? And somebody mentioned while I was raising funds for telescopes for a program in Tanzania, I think they need food more than they need telescopes. And that just misses the point, because they don't realize what they need is education. The younger people need a chance to have the education that will lead them to be the scientists, the engineers, the technologists that the country needs to develop, including raising their own food. And this was the contact I had with a member of the U.S. Peace Corps, which is young people who go to other countries to help for a certain amount of time. And this is a laboratory where he was teaching. He contacted me because he was going to do astronomy in Tanzania as well. And here they were giving their reasons why they wanted to study science. None of them had to do with becoming an astronomer. We're not trying to make astronomers, but they have throughout the country very little in the way of science facilities. And so astronomy is one thing that they do have, because they have a good sky at night. You can look up, you can study astronomy, you can be inspired by astronomy. But the schools, for the most part, do not have science facilities. They don't have chemistry labs or biology labs or the other physics labs and so on, but they have a great astronomy lab overhead. Here is a classroom in Rwanda, and they're not going to be doing science there, except that he has a model of what looks like Uranus or Neptune. Somebody else will know which one that might be. And they can do astronomy there, and they can talk about it, and it's inspiring for all the children. Everybody's interested, and they have a lot of questions. This is a girls' STEM class, not a class, but a workshop done by Olenka Fagbamiro in Nigeria, where girls are not considered, they don't even consider that they can go into science if they want to. It's just not something that is expected. But of course they can, but they need some inspiration. They need hands-on opportunity to do something where they can be curious about what's going on and learn something about it and say, yeah, I really want to do that. Well, this is a great picture of kids in a STEM center that is based on astronomy. And they look like kids, aside from the dress or whatever, and the fact that, there aren't chairs or anything, which is true in a lot of the world, though not necessarily here in the US, and sitting on the floor. and enjoying the astronomy things. Well, this STEM center is here in a shipping container, and this is in a refugee camp, an IDP, internally displaced people camp in northern Nigeria. So these kids really don't have any opportunities at all. And they are using astronomy to inspire them, to give them a chance, to hope about something. And so and there are a lot of other great pictures from there, but I won't spend too much time on that. This is in Ethiopia. This is an Astro bus. They go around to different areas in Ethiopia. I've been to Addis Ababa, and they have a lot of facilities there. They use astronomy to develop the science in the country and technology. It's very big. They have an observatory with two 1-meter telescopes used for education, and they are using astronomy and space as a major component of their effort to develop the science in technology in the country. But in the rural areas, of course, people don't know about any of these things. So they go around and they use astronomy to, again, teach and inspire and let the students know that they do have an opportunity to go into science if they want to, and let them know about how. This is telescopes to Tanzania, where I was raising money for the telescopes there. Their motto there is education is the path to a bright future. And the educational system there is not great by our standards, but the kids are just as excited about astronomy and just as interested as any place else. And this program is eventually led to Mount Meru Astronomical Observatory, where there is a 16-inch telescope and classrooms, and they are training teachers to teach astronomy. And I've had the opportunity to take part in some of those workshops remotely like this, and they're really soaking it up. Well, little things make a big difference, and this is something that we're going to take advantage of. These kids here, I sent along some eclipse glasses to Tanzania because there was going to be an eclipse across Africa. It was an annular eclipse. It was a deep partial eclipse in Tanzania. And these students here heard that this one school where these glasses were, the person I sent them was, and they got a bus and the classroom, the school, and they came to the school to get glasses for themselves and look at the sun for the first time. And one of them said, now we are scientists. And that's all it takes. And you know what? I agree with them. If you are looking at something and you're asking questions and you're curious, that's science. That's what we do. Others in Tanzania as well. Older ones, and look at these kids in Uganda. Just looking at the sun is something that most people have never done, and you would not believe, if you're used to doing this, what a big deal this is for these kids to look directly at the sun like that. Some girls in Afghanistan, which doesn't have science opportunities for girls now at all. It's not even allowed, so it's a very bad situation. But just as there was a time when things were better, we hope that it will get better for them before too long. Well, this has led to this project, which we are actually renaming as Bright Futures. It's the Global Sunlight STEM Education Project. And after the last eclipse, the total eclipse here in the United States last April, in 2024, I received donated glasses, more than 1 million, and with more still out there that I can get, that were unused, unsold for that eclipse. They were branded as 2024, and so the companies and the vendors said we can't sell them anymore. So they've donated them to us, and we have already sent 132,000 of these glasses to these 12 different countries. Now, this was made possible by a grant from our partner, the IIU Office of Astronomy for Education, and who paid for these shipments. We're still building the program. It's still being built up, but these are countries where I know the programs and the people very well, including Tunisia and others in North Africa, Algeria and Libya, your neighbors, Ethiopia, and then others in Bhutan, Pakistan, Nepal. And many of them are waiting for additional glasses that we will sell them for, we will send them. Once we have the funds for shipping them, we are also developing the lessons right now that I hope will be ready within the next 2 weeks, that we can start sending them to go along with this. Now, this here is an example of some of the glasses that were handed out in Mozambique. Now, this is great and this is exciting, but what happens to the glasses after that? What happens when you send them to an eclipse and everybody has a great time during the eclipse? And that's fabulous, but there's nothing built on. And so the idea of this program has nothing to do with eclipses, though they will be used in Africa for a couple of eclipses coming up in the next couple of years. But this is about looking at the sun and studying the sun and sunlight, using that as a place to start learning about science. And, you know, astronomy connects with everything. Not only physics and chemistry and geology, but biology and just about everything else. So this can lead to an awful lot of different things. This is in Senegal, where they're taking part in this program and have passed some of them out as well. So the lessons, the idea behind the lessons is that the lessons will be very simple things with questions like, what is the sun? And then it'll describe what the sun is. And, you know, as you all know, most people, if you ask them what is the sun, they don't know. Is it a planet? Is it a star? Most people don't realize that. And so these are very simple questions. And how does the sun compare to other stars? What's it made of? What's the structure? How does solar activity affect us down here? Do sunspots make a big difference? The solar cycle? What's the impact on Earth? But the idea is that after answering these very basic questions, if there are other topics that the teachers want to go into, and this will be different in every school and certainly in every country, it could lead to much more advanced things for the more advanced students, like solar energy and different types of energy transfer, magnetism. All of these different things are ways that it could go. It could also go into indigenous astronomy, into sociology and history in the country, where there is a history of doing astronomy, because there is everywhere. So the possibilities are endless. The idea is to start with something that's available to every single person on Earth, with the simplest of little resources, and provide these resources free to organizations like the Tunisia Association of Young Astronomers and others who are doing the work. They're out there already doing these things. And all we're doing is giving them a little bit of extra that they can use. And then it's up to them, and they work with the schools. So because of that, well, I wouldn't usually put the budgets in here, but this was actually made for sponsors. But the fact is that the budget is really an important thing on this, because at this budget, and I think it'll go up some, so this might not be quite as good, but for 10 cents, 1/10 of a US dollar per student per year, we can reach millions of students with this. Now, here we're having budget crises and things, as you probably all know, and people with multi-million-dollar programs are going to have problems. This isn't. This is using free stuff, and it's all available. The idea behind what we're doing here is that we don't need to invent new things. We just need to share the things that we have already and give everybody a chance. That's it. And the most important thing we have is not solar glasses, it's people in every country. And I've done some things in the past, like the Global Star Party during 100 Hours of Astronomy that I ran in the International Year of Astronomy, 2009. We probably had 1 million people look through telescopes in one night. That's because the amateur astronomers said, boy, this is cool. And they brought all their telescopes out. And they got publicity and everybody came out. That doesn't cost anything. It just is a way to take what's already happening and make more out of it. The resources that will be added will be things like diffraction gratings, little ones, so you can split the sun up into a small spectrum and start looking at sunlight in more detail, just like we do with the big telescopes, just to get the idea. And that can go into so many things as well. Well, here's something else. Here's a marginalized community that shouldn't be marginalized. The blind people have a problem because they're not included in so many different things, not because it's really not even because they can't see us. It's not a disability. It's not really a problem. Advocates say we are who we are. We're just different in some ways and we do things differently. But they can do anything that we can do here. Well, we think of astronomy as being a visual science because we look at these pictures from the space telescopes and so on. But, those are turned into tactile and sonification, sound, media that the blind can understand. And there are so many ways to do this. And blind people are the same as everybody else. They just can't see things. They can be smart, they can be geniuses, they can be working in any different sort of a field. So these are all different ways in which astronomy is being used to give the blind people a chance to learn something about it, just like those kids in the refugee camp in Nigeria. Here's a 3D model of the moon in Argentina. Here are this was during our 100 Hours of Astronomy in the International Year of Astronomy. Blind people reading books with Braille. You can see there's a picture there. They can feel what that is all about. Here's one that I really love. Actually did the English, produced the English translation, the production for the narration. This is a planetarium for the blind. And they hold the dome in their lab. And then the dome has the constellations of stars they can follow. And a dotted line is where the narration says to follow the dotted line. We're going to go to the next constellation and talk about this here. And one thing that, to get a feel for how much they are excluded in terms of normal things for us, is that there is people do make tactile planetariums, and it is a large dome, could be cloth or something hard, that they go under and feel and can get a sense of what the sky is like. Blind people don't realize the sky is curved. That makes sense to us. We've seen it all along. How could it not be curved? The world is a sphere. But if you've never seen it and you've never seen the horizon and how things disappear over the horizon, you don't get that sense. So this is a big thing. Now, the reason I'm focusing on this one is simple. Those resources like this planetarium, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of things like this. And most of them are plans for do-it-yourself. You can make these things. There are experts on it who are doing astronomy for the blind in schools and in outreach groups, a few around the world. And they've all figured it out for themselves because they just got the idea to do it. But what about all those amateur astronomy groups around the world that we're a part of 100 Hours of Astronomy Global Star Party, they're doing outreach. Their whole purpose is to share the sky with other people. They go in, some go into hospitals, some go into prisons. They go places seeking out people that are excluded, but they don't even think about this group. So what we're doing is bringing a group together where people can simply share what they do and how to make these resources. And all the other groups around the world can learn about it and start doing it. Now, if we get 1,000 groups out there, which would be very easy, to start including the blind, if they reach 100 each, it's 100,000 people that they're bringing astronomy to. And what does that cost? Well, it's almost nothing because it's just people coming together, again, to share the resources. The problem is not a lack of resources, it's a lack of distribution. Now, here's an example of what can be done too. You can see this person on the right is blind, carries a cane, but a lot of blind people, many are not 100% blind. They can see a little bit out of the periphery. They can see the very high contrast objects. At the Terminator, when you show them the Terminator through of the moon through a telescope, in this case with binoculars, which I can't even bend my neck like that anymore. So it's not my preferred method of reaching out to people, but even there, they can do that. And most people don't realize this, but there are ways of doing this. There's a lot of knowledge about doing it. And it gives people a chance to look through a telescope that they otherwise would never in their whole lives have. So especially those people that can see something. I was at an expo for, it was about blind research. It might have been other disabilities, and I was talking with this one really nice lady who was blind. And this was before an eclipse here, the one in 2017. And she said she was really excited about the eclipse. And I said, can you see it? And it turned out, yeah, you wouldn't know it talking to her. She used a cane, but she could see a little bit out of the periphery. She can tell the difference between light and dark. So there are these things people just don't realize. There's a lot we can do there. Well, I've raised money for telescopes and other resources for astronomy groups around the world that are getting started or just don't have any telescopes available in their country. When I took a bunch of equipment to Iraq that Maisya mentioned, well, people would say, well, why don't they just order it online? Well, they can't. They didn't have access. They didn't have credit cards. And if they did manage to do that, it'd probably get stolen on the way into the country. Anyway, things are just not the same. Here, a great group from in Libya. This is a young girl who's passionate about astronomy in one of the astronomy clubs established in middle schools in 5 different cities across the country. And they are all supported by them and doing great work. They couldn't get telescopes. We got telescopes for all 5 of them and sent them over there. The hard part is not getting telescopes, it's getting them to the countries much of the time. Jean-Pierre, who is in here as well, knows the difficulties with that because he does it around the world even more. So this is one example of what we did recently. Here's another one. Ukraine. Well, this is a really interesting one because a colleague of mine does educational programs and provides laptops and things for schools in Ukraine during the war. And they contacted her and said, the astronomy student said, hey, you know, our power goes out all the time. We need telescopes so we can see the sky. That's an opportunity. Well, here's an example. So the top row up here is 3 cities during normal times, and then during blackouts when the infrastructure is attacked or there just isn't enough or something because of the war. So this was a neat opportunity, and I thought that was great. You know, let's make the best of this if we can. There's a classroom in Ukraine. Well, Most are better than that. Some are a lot worse, but these are a few things that I found online, actually in a Washington Post article that I grabbed. And here is classes in someplace underground during an air raid alert. Well, here's one of the telescopes that we sent. And one of the qualifications, I always ask what they're going to do with it and so on. So I make sure they get the right type of a telescope. In this case, it was we need to be able to pick it up and quickly run into an air raid shelter. Not something I had to deal with before. But every country has different issues. You know, in Tanzania, the observatory there, you have to watch for elephants coming through. I've never had that problem myself before. We don't have those here, but here are students looking at and setting up the telescopes. Well, then the idea came up while I was talking to them that I'd go to Iran and meet Ukraine and meet these students. And here we are with telescopes that had been donated by Explore Scientific here in the US and Bader Planetarium in Germany to take into Ukraine. We had a small group, and here is our train. You can't fly in. Here is our train stateroom crammed with all of this stuff. And we had some very puzzled customs workers on the train checking out all this, saying, what is going on here? And here I am actually with one of those telescopes that was sent earlier. Mirjana Povic from Ethiopia. She's actually Serbian. She grew up during the war there. So this is one of the schools we had sent it to. This is a classroom that we were having a meeting with the students. The teacher is talking there. Well, air raid sounds, and we have to go down to the bomb shelter. So this is where we continue. This is just part of life. Now, this is an example, obviously, of a way in which astronomy can be used for students in crisis, in countries in crisis, in places where there are extreme difficulties, to try and inspire. It gives them a break from the war. It gives them a chance to dream about other things. These young students are always living in fear. And I thought, well, you know, your school isn't going to get hit. You go down to a bomb. I forgot when I was talking to them, their fathers are all in the war. And so they live in constant fear of that. They are really stressed. And this is a country that we all know as being really technologically advanced in IT and so on. But they don't know what their future is going to be. They don't know if they can stay in Ukraine and go to school. They don't know if they'll go to Europe. They really don't know. So it's a problem. Well, just a few things just to give you an idea. This is Mykolaiv before we went to visit the class there. This is very close to the front, not at the front, but they were under siege for a long time. And it's much closer. This is the closest we got to that area. These are Russian military vehicles, and memorial to those who, from the city, who had lost their lives, the soldiers. There's a great deal more of that. A government building, having something to do with the military that was hit. The right half is still being used. And perhaps the most touching memorial I've ever seen in my life. I get choked up just looking at that. I'm sorry, but you see the wife and the children, the heart on the wife, behind the silhouette of the husbands at war, and in front of that building with other memorials. So I can't look at that too long without reacting. And here we are at that school. Now, these students came to the school to meet with us, but they are not ordinarily in school. They are at home doing school remotely. And probably everybody here knows what that's like, because we went through it with the pandemic. They went straight from the pandemic into the war. So they've had 5 years of this so far, and it's going to continue. Cassandra, here are the great volunteer, went along on this trip, and she has since returned. Also, there's a documentary film that will be made about this trip and about the students in Ukraine. And we had that filmmaker along with us. She has returned to Ukraine with him to get some more things for the film. The trailer for the film will be premiered in June, and later this year the film will come out. So crowdfunding in general, this is something like I started with Libya. The next one is going to be Mozambique. I met these great young people from Mozambique at the African Astronomical Society meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco, right next to you guys, last year. These are all astronomy students at the university in the capital. But they formed the first astronomical society in the country. And they are fabulous. They're figuring out themselves how to do outreach. They're going to places like the school that you saw where they had handed out some of those classes already. And so we are going to be raising funds for them to get a larger telescope. I think they have a couple small ones, but they need something more than that. And the whole idea here is to support these people, just as Jean-Pierre does, and as I've done in the past with these groups in any way we can. And this is what they need right now. And they're also part of the Sunlight program. So here is something I think is really important that I've been wanting to do. How many of you get the question, why study astronomy? We have so many things to do down here on Earth. And, what good is putting things in space? Why are we wasting money on all these things? Well, I've just shown you some reasons why we do that. And you all know why we do this. But the general public doesn't really know. And I'll tell you honestly, I know teachers. I gave a presentation once at an education meeting with teachers of astronomy, and they do it because they love it. I did a presentation on why we need to do it, and they really love that because it justifies what they want to do anyway. And they see these things, they see what happens with the students, but they never really put it all together as a way to show why astronomy is important. So it answers that question. It provides exposure for projects around the world. For example, all those different places that I showed, they're a part of the Sunlight program now. And also as well, at the General Assembly, the IU Assembly in South Africa and other places, the people who are doing astronomy outreach and education don't even know about all these others. They don't know what's going on in other countries. So there are a lot of reasons why we're doing this podcast. And some of the people that are being highlighted, Mariana, she's an Ethiopian. I showed her going with us to Ukraine. She's a professional astronomer, grew up in Serbia during the wars there. And now, though, she works on many different projects that inspire students across Africa, especially women and girls. She's founder of the African Network of Women in Astronomy. It's part of the African Astronomical Society. And they're doing fantastic work in encouraging people, encouraging women in particular, and girls, the young students. Manisha Dua in Nepal, I've known Manisha for a long time. She represents many different organizations in Nepal, and she's a leader in the Nepal Astronomical Society and other things. She's studying for a PhD in astronomy now, but she is passionate about bringing astronomy to the kids of Nepal as a way to advance things in her country. These are ones that have already been published, by the way. Olenka Fagbemiro in Nigeria. I showed some of these pictures before and talked about Olenka, but she's doing fabulous work there and has for a long time. She is a manager at the Nigerian Space Agency, and she's in a position where she can do a lot of good. And she has gone from when I met her to being a young person wanting to start something and just the beginning of her career to now she is a leader who is invited around the world to talk about what they do in Nigeria, especially, again, women in science. Yumna Majid in Pakistan. Yumna, I just love this picture of her after she had given a talk to this class. The girls who are looking around her, in this podcast interview, I said these girls are looking at her like she's Taylor Swift. They just idolize her, and so you can see from all of these pictures that she is, again, especially encouraging girls in Pakistan, which is largely fairly, let's see, the Islamic codes are treated pretty seriously, especially in some areas in the north, near Afghanistan. And so she is doing great work with her exploration program there as well. These are all ones that I approached and I said, hey, I got these glasses. I have a chance to ship some out. I want to get some to you guys. We haven't even really kicked off the project, and we're looking for that funding so we can continue it. So we haven't gone beyond that. But these are the ones that are featured there. We have many other episodes of great people. Jean-Pierre, who is in the meeting now, is one of those because of the work he's doing. So we have perspectives on this from around the world and how astronomy is being used for good. This summer, we have soft launched all these things. We are going to be on, Yumna is also works with us in Astronomy for Equity doing the social media. We're going to be hard launching all of these things, all of the programs. We have recruited a really great team, and we're going to be launching all of these things in a bigger way and starting a publicity campaign so we can attract sponsors and get funding. And these are the ones that we focused on. So, the thing about astronomy, as you know, and I'm not going to I can't read this like Carl Sagan, but you all know his words at the bottom in pale blue dot that it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another. And I know quite a few people who have been to space, both suborbital and orbital, as part of NASA or as private. And there are something like 700 people that have been to space. Fewer still have been to the moon. When they get the chance to see the Earth as a planet in space, surrounded by the stars, and it changes them, it makes them realize this. They are out there seeing the Earth just as in the pale blue dot photograph. But that's very few people. The other way to explore space and to understand how we are together on this planet without leaving it is astronomy, because when we look out into the sky together, we can recognize how we're all part of this same little dot in space, and we're all connected that way. So I like the perspective that this cartoon gives here. So in sum, what we're doing is empowering those who are already doing the work. New programs using existing resources and just using those. We don't have to find new solutions to old problems. We can do better with what we have, and we can do that by supporting the people who are already trying to do all of that work. So here we are. We have a new website as part of the new launch that will be coming up after in the next couple of weeks as well. And, here we are on top of Mauna Kea, looking at our galaxy. Looks just like what we'd see if we were looking from the outside, on edge. And that's the perspective that we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see and that we take advantage of fully. So there we are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. That was very, very interesting. I would like also to highlight that definitely I know Yomna Majid and she's definitely doing a great work. And yeah, she's facing a lot of challenges. I mean social challenge, also political challenge, and besides that, she's really hard and undetermined woman that she have a real goal that she wanna reach. We have been working together, but through online, so we collaborate in a few work together. But yeah, I definitely I know the situation of Pakistan and some other countries in which they do have sort of restriction in terms of female activity or society restriction, so which make things much more challenging. So that's very interesting. All right,
You
thanks so
know,
much, Mike.
I
Yeah, go
am
ahead,
trying to get
please.
you onto the podcast as well. And I want to do that as soon as possible so that we can highlight what is happening in Tunisia.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some countries they still struggle definitely by finding women in science field. I had something similar with astronomical community in Tunisia, in which I was always hearing that in the end I'm gonna be in my husband's house, so there are no need for what I'm doing. I was like, all right, if I'm going to be in my husband's house, I prefer to be with my degree, with my activity, with goals in life. So I mean, those still are problem in few countries. To be truthful, that's not the case always in Tunisia, but Tunisian women definitely are so determined, so strong. They are full of energy, a lot of things to do. They have clear goal, clear objectives, and they are very strong, literally. But that does not exclude, to be truthful, that few community, small community in Tunisia, they still struggle with accepting a woman leading a project or woman leader in science especially. So those are things we cannot hide. The problem's there and it's part of the ocean and we cannot exclude it. Meaning that it really requires further work to fix such things. And it's not easy because you are changing something in society. So it's a lot of work for a long-term result. All right. Thanks so much, Mike, for the presentation. It was really very interesting. So, I have a question from one of the followers in in the YouTube, and that's the same question I had all the time. Why astronomy is important? Why we are doing all of this?
Well, you know, I hope that this presentation helped to answer that question. When you see everything that is being done around the planet to do good things, it isn't just about it's fun, but there are, like, Ethiopia is a great example where they are using astronomy to develop the country. They are building the next generation of scientists and engineers, largely using astronomy. It is also a field that anybody can go into, and it's encouraging uh, uh, young women, for example, to break with some of the difficult traditions that you have in many countries. I know in Iran, which I've been to many times, astronomy is one field that's very much accepted. It's the same as in Tunisia and as in many other countries, Muslim countries that I have traveled to. Some are very strict, others are less so. But the difference between what happens in the big cities and what happens in the rural towns is very, very different, and we see that in our country and every other country. And but so there in the small towns, the restrictions on the girls are much greater, but the parents think they let them go to star parties in this one town where astronomy is a big thing with the boys there, and that's the one place where they don't worry about it. They think it's okay. Astronomy really has a special place in the world, in different countries and different cultures, in so many different ways.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So the next question, yeah, is from our member following us in the YouTube live streaming. So it was about how does astronomy contribute to the society?
Well, I think that's part of the same question. There's more to it in general. Here in the United States, for example, I think we really do need to have astronomy in all schools. We don't have it, just like in other countries. There are very few that do it. But we are one of the few countries that has the opportunity to actually put things in space, and especially to explore other planets and so on. And this has a big benefit to society in general. When I remember when we put people on the moon for the first time, and that was something that people talked about. We did this. It was humanity that did it. It was really uniting for a short time and inspiring. Uh, and so I think there's a big benefit to that as well. When we or anybody else does star parties and for the public, and you show people things in the telescope for the first time, it really changes people's lives. It changes their perspective. Those dots up there, what that one up there is what I'm seeing in the telescope, and it's Saturn, has rings around it. I think there's a lot of benefits to society in general about astronomy, but I think really the opportunity to really grow, expand give more opportunities to inspire young people and include more people in science is the biggest.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. The next question is, what project do you suggest to sensitize the government to have funding to remote astronomy project in our country? This
Yeah,
was in
that's good.
Nigeria.
In Algeria. Well, I've been to Algeria too, to Constantine, Dr. Jamal there, who is doing fabulous things, and was the president of the African Astronomical Society. So I know astronomy is very active in Algeria, and not just Constantine, but in other places. Um, how to convince the government, to convince politicians to support astronomy and fund programs. Wow, I wish I had an answer for that. I mean, we have that problem here in the US as well. I mean, it's going to be a bigger problem now with the changes that are taking place. We have been very fortunate to have the availability of things because NASA really needs to educate the public. It really needs to get more people into the sciences and engineering, to have people to be a part of NASA in the future. It's not the case in most countries, and they're going to have that question, why? Why are we going to do this? The best way, if you can meet with politicians, is to show them how inspiring it is, and encouraging it is for the young people in your country or other countries. I don't know of any other way. And how you get in to talk to these people, I have no clue. But to show them what the impact has been, and if you get anything, you always need to show who gave you the funds, what a great return there was on it. This is a tough job. I mean, any country I'm in, I would talk to the government officials and say, you need to help these guys. And that's happened before, in some places that I've been. So good luck if there's something I can do. There's also one in the chat on here too.
Yeah, so the question was from also from someone from Algeria. She said she's from Shaima. She's also a friend. Yeah, we had camp meeting. Um, so she said, I had the pleasure to talk with Mr. Mike through Facebook after receiving a pack of solar eclipse glasses in Algeria. I'm wondering how can we contribute to the Team Master Equity team in social media since I'm more active in social media within science communication.
Well, we have brought on board several volunteers lately. Social media, we may be able to use more. I just put my email into the chat here, and you can write to me. Social media, we're going to be expanding an extreme amount here. We're going to have a real publicity campaign. My part is to write articles for the magazines that I've written for and to be on podcasts and things. The social media part, we're going to have a lot to do. So if you want to talk about possibly being a part of that or anything else within Astronomy for Equity, we're building the team right now. So go ahead and write to me. I'd love to hear you.
All right, so we have Jave. He said, I'm not a scientist, but a literature specialist. I got interested in astronomy during the EGM in Southern Africa, where I presented a paper in Women in Astronomy. By attending the EGM and taking part in outreach program during the conference helped me understand and appreciate the theme of EGM, which is astronomy for all. As such, I have since developed interest in the nexus between astronomy and literature and also ingenious astronomy and climate change. My question to Mike is, are you available to support programs boarding in the above area of my concern? I'm from Kawam, Nkrumah University in Zambia.
Mm-hmm. Kwame Nkrumah. I remember that name from some time ago. And this is great because I'm very interested in the intersection between the sciences and other areas, not because we need to blend them together, but because they are part of each other. They always have been. We tend to specialize in one thing and we just look at that one thing. But science and literature, for example, is really important. Science fiction is not just for science fiction fans. There's real science. Sometimes it's way wrong. That's a teachable moment. There are scientists who write science fiction and vice versa. I've been involved a lot in astronomy and art. And these are just different ways of seeing the universe. Nicole Stott, who is a NASA astronaut, flew 5 times, is trained as an engineer, but is an artist. She does artwork on what she saw from the space station and things like that. And we agree that it was a really interesting conversation. We agreed that these are just different ways of seeing the universe and different ways of expressing yourself. Scientists frequently do art, and people get interested in science through art. This is a really big subject. I've had a lot of conversations lately. When you paint something, you are expressing your feelings about the universe. And when you write equations about as part of a cosmological model, you are doing the same thing. These are not two different things. They're just two different ways of doing it. So the astronomy and literature is really interesting. I also have, you should write to me because I can give you a link to Andrew Fracknoy, who has incredible links on things like astronomy and literature, huge resources he developed over many years. And also, indigenous astronomy is very, very important because this is what makes it relevant to people in every culture, because they've been doing it all along. And all of a sudden we come along and say, well, this is astronomy. Well, no, this is our astronomy. They have another way of looking at it. And we learn from them as well. And climate change, that is a big part of what we'll get to in this Sunlight program. Because when you think about energy coming from the sun, all life comes from the sun, all our energy comes from the sun, and you learn about energy transfer and things you learn about climate change. So these are all things I'm interested in, and feel free to write to me.
All right, thank you, Mike. So, yeah, that's his email. Okay. I think also one of the reason that I might add something why astronomy is important, because astronomy just is not about looking to the sky, bring outside your telescope and look to the moon, take photo. Astronomy also, I think, is one of the field associated with developed technology. So basically, I believe that country in which they do have this kind of science, like astronomy, astrophysics, aerospace, that somehow directly or indirectly will affect the quality of education in the country, the quality of the student, and also the quality of the life and the society. Because those are what we call advanced sciences, aerospace, astronomy, astrophysics, because those are hard sciences in which they bring new technology, they bring new methodology to work with science data, they bring new concepts to deal with science data. So basically, I think one of the reason why astronomy is important, because I believe that astronomy affect directly the quality of education in that country, and it affect indirectly the society and the development of the country. So that's one of the reasons I think that astronomy is very important to develop the society and also the country itself. We have a
Yeah,
question
I
from,
think yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
that's true, and that's true of every science, even the basic sciences where you're just looking to understand something, and you don't know what the direct effect will be. But if you stop looking for answers, you stop getting answers. It's just you don't know what it's going to lead to. It's a harder sell for the public and for politicians because they want to see results now. So saying, well, we'll probably discover something new that will be worthwhile, they don't know what it is. And that's kind of the point. You don't know what you don't know. And so
It's a
that's why
long-term result. It's a
yeah.
long-term result. I mean, you can't just implement astronomy today and you will see the result tomorrow. It's a long-term result. It's something you need to implement in university, but the result will be after 10 years. So it's long-term result.
Mhm.
We have a question here from Doa. She's also amateur astronomer. She said, I'm very interested in astronomy and space, but it's impossible to work or even study in this field in Tunisia. So please, do you have any advice? And what can I do to achieve this goal?
I get this question a lot, and frankly, I don't have a good answer. The answer really is if you want to study at a university or beyond, and it's not offered in your country, if that's what you want to do and you need an academic background, you have to go somewhere else to do that. And I've seen a lot of people do that. And you can do that. And I encourage you to consider that. Look at the places that might be best if that is really what you want to do. And I've seen a number, just lots and lots of students from countries who have come to the U.S. or to Europe, which right now is a better destination, or Canada or other countries, and it could be other countries nearby in North Africa too that have programs like this. So you don't necessarily have to go very far away. Certainly, there are many in Africa. There are other ways to get into astronomy because there are many, for example, engineering. There are many engineers that go into astronomy, and I've seen astronomy. I knew one graduate student who got her PhD here, and I met her first in Iran, and she was accepted to one of the best astronomy programs for graduate work in the country, if not the world. But she went somewhere else because she was most interested in the engineering of astronomy. She wanted to design her own instruments, build her own instruments for the study she was doing. That's a great way to go. She ended up at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab, NASA facility, and so there are other ways to get into astronomy than studying astronomy directly. But then you really have to know ahead of time what it is you really want to do in astronomy, and that's hard to know. So the only thing I can say is, while you figure that out or figure out where to go, that you keep moving forward on it with whatever it is you can do. But look at all the options.
You, Mike. I mean, when I started my journey, my academic journey in Tunisia, also we do not have astronomy. We have physics, we have geology. So what I thought about, I wanted to study astronomy, astrophysics. So, and this was my first year in university. So I figured that before entering the university, that we are no school in astronomy or astrophysics or propulsion or aerospace study. So I went to geology, but my mind, in my brain, I was connected to the space. So what I did basically, I created something new, which is called planetary geology. I mean, this field that exists in Europe or in the stateside, but in Tunisia it was something new. So people they were not aware that we do have also a field called planetology or planetary geology. So when I was talking about that, I was like, look, I will study geology, but I'm gonna apply that in planetary scale. I mean, I'm gonna work in Mars geology, Mercury geology, Venus geology, any kind of planet geology. So I do remember my professor in that time. She told me what even what does that mean? And she told me what it means to study Mars geology. Can you go to Mars and pick up some rocks to analyze or to do laboratory measurement? I was like, no, but I can use remote sensor data in which I can get from space mission. I can study the surface. I can study the surface geomorphology, structural feature in the surface. And it started from that. So I didn't give up because the goal was clear. I wanted to do that, whatever it's gonna cost me. So I did my bachelor degree. It was about comparative geology for celestial body of the solar system. I was the first one bringing in the Republic of Tunisia, bring the concept of planetary geology. No one talked about that before. And then I pursued my master degree. It was about the master about geology of Mars. When I issued my master, we were struggling about finding expert people to work with us. So at that moment, I figured out that I need to get out because I need to have solid knowledge because I'm building a professional academic career. I need to be well rounded by good people and professional people to work in this field. So at the moment, I thought that that's the time to move on in another country, and I get out in my country with the main goal is to build a career, very strong career, have as maximum as I can from experience, from skills, from background, and at a certain point I need to come back to my country because we need to work in that. We need to work in the first generation um of astronomer in Tunisia because definitely I'm not gonna be the only one who's gonna study as aerospace or astronomy. So there are thousands of generation after me, and they will grow up at a certain point. They need or they want to study astronomy or astrophysics. So absolutely, I'm not the only one, but there are generation coming after me. So at a certain point, we need to do sacrifices to our country, and we need to come back and build the first astronomical generation and implement this study inside our university. So
Yeah, I
share
shouldn't just
myself.
let you answer that question because you're in a better position to answer that, especially for Tunisia. But you make a good point too. It's something that I probably should have added. For example, if you want to go into astronomy, if you have a an undergraduate degree, go to get your master's in physics. And when you're an undergraduate, study physics. Astronomy is physics, and you need a good background. You don't have to know anything about other subjects really to get started. And I have known people with master's degrees in physics, for example, to get into very good astronomy programs for their PhD. So you can continue in Tunisia in that way to do your physics, or if you're interested in planetary geology, obviously geology and other things like that. So, and then worry about your PhD someplace else when you're qualified. It's a great idea, Marisa.
I agree. I mean, I did a lot of research. I was like almost 1 year struggling between what is the next step for me, because I wanted to remain in my country. At the same time, I have a goal to achieve. So I mean, after all the study of the context of the country, what I would suggest to do, there are two ways. Either you go through physics and you do as that's the sneaky way to get closer to astronomy, because as Mike say, astronomy is physics. So either you go in a sneaky way through physics, and from physics you do astrophysics and or sound physics or whatever the project is, or you go through geology and you study the geology of the planets if you are more interested in geology, or meteorite study. So you're gonna study meteorites or asteroid or small body object in the solar system. So those are the most sneaky way. Or biology, and you do astrobiology if you are more interested to sign of life in Mars and the South Pole, the North Pole of the planet, where there are icy environments. That's also my lead also to under field of astronomy like astrobiology or astrogeology. So those are the sneaky way usually we use in a country where astrophysics or astronomy are not implemented. Yeah, Shema, she dropped down a comment. She said, by the way, here is my Instagram if someone want to add her and get in touch with her. I might also give the floor to Dr. Sana Yari. She's also she's NOC, she's member of the NOC office in Tunisia, and she's geologist, but she work in the geology of the earth. So yeah, to add something or to add comment about yeah, about astronomy in Tunisia or activity that she's dealing with in our country now. Go ahead, Sana, if you want.
No, thank you, Mesa. Well, hi, Mike. I'm happy. I'm glad to see you here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join you from the start, but yeah, it was a good talk, and I enjoyed how our followers are interacting, and I may also take I may also thank you for the solar lunet,
Glasses. Yeah.
the solar glasses. Yeah, the solar glasses. We received a part of them, and I hope Mesa is going to send the other one.
Rest. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm still struggling with the shipment fee. It's very expensive.
yeah. I know, I know. And happy to see you again. And I may take the opportunity to respond to Dua also, because she was asking if she can study in Tunisia astronomy. Unfortunately, we don't have a specific masters or bachelor for astronomy, but she can study physics, quantum physics, or geology, like Maisa said. And after that, she can pursue her research, maybe in some field in the remote sensing, maybe we also have in Tunisia.
Yes, and you highlight a good point. In fact, remote sensing also is an interesting field, which is a field under geology. But using remote sensing, you can get closer to astronomy because you're gonna use data from space missions. So teledetection and also remote sensing data, which are fields under the field of geology. So subfield under the geology. That's true.
Geographic information system also is a part of the field of astronomy, I guess.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Also geophysics. So I'm gonna say in this point, geophysics or teledetection or remote sensing or GIS. Those are filled also all under geology, if I can say. Those are underfilled geology. So definitely that's what I use actually to study the geology of Mars, geology of Mercury or Venus. So yeah, that's basically the sneaky way to get closer to astronomy, study astronomy without being an astronomer. So that's what we usually do. I agree. I definitely agree.
Thank you, Dr. Sana, for your comments too. It's a pleasure to be. I'm so glad to meet you here. Hope to meet you in Tunisia or somewhere before
Me
long.
too.
It's a pleasure to continue to work with Tunisia. I love Tunisia, so I hope to get back there again soon.
Well, in 2027, so that's
Yeah,
something
I hope
we
you
need to
visit.
plan.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
a good opportunity to see you.
yeah. It's I am an eclipse chaser, and that's Tunisia is my choice for the eclipse. Algeria, Jamal will have things happening there too, but I think yeah, I'm tending towards Tunisia right now.
Mhm.
And that's something,
It's
yeah, we will plan for definitely 2027. I don't know if anyone here have something to add or have a comment or have some more to say to Mike before we close the meeting. All right, so probably no one. So go ahead, Chive.
Thank you so much. The name again?
It's okay, it's okay. My name is Maisa. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
thank you.
I've liked the presentation by Mike, and I'm the one who said I'm a literature person. I've done literature, comparative literature, and gender, and they have developed interest in astronomy, especially that I did a presentation on women in gender. I was interested in looking at the situational analysis of Zambia in terms of how many women are actually involved in astronomy. And the picture was not very interesting. It was not very good. The picture that came out of the study that I did. And I presented it at the AGM in South Africa last year. And I was involved in the outreach programs. I was also involved in the facilitation. I think I did present a paper on how you can use a narrative to teach science. I was looking at the sun and the moon. So all that I think has made me realize that astronomy is indeed for all. It's not for a few that are selected. And with what Mike has presented, I would like to move into such areas as indigenous astronomy so that we can have a lot of projects in that area because I do realize that if we look at indigenous astronomy, it will definitely touch the underprivileged people because we'll be dealing with the rural parts to deal with the people and also in the wake of climate change we see how these interact. I think it would be very interesting to have such programs running on the ground, and um, uh, that is what I'm interested in doing, venturing into that space, see how it can really help us promote astronomy. At my university, we have science, we have a school of science, but we don't have any club on to do with the astronomy. We have one astrophysicist who teaches physics, but they have not promoted this astronomy in the university. So perhaps maybe because they have no maybe some kind of help from somewhere to energize them to promote astronomy in the in the university. I was thinking maybe they could come up with a club, astronomy club among the students. That would be a starting point to promote astronomy. But of course, in Zambia, we have at Belt University where they have started. I think they also have masters in astronomy at University of I've been the Copper Belt University, but where I am, it's a sorry site. We have someone who is qualified in astrophysics, and but there's nothing that is going on. So you can imagine I'm from the languages department, but I'm interested in this. So imagine if we had people who are interested in this, we could have seen a lot of activities in that area. So I don't know with Simmons, with your connections and so on, how we can at Kwame Nkrumah Invest, how this can be actualized. Would really appreciate because I've seen we need to promote that and we need to bring on board women in astronomy because in Zambia there's only one woman who has done astronomy, and she's not even based in Zambia. She's based in South Africa, who has done a PhD in astronomy. So you can see that the gender from the women perspective is it's not very good. So we need to promote the women in that space. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you already have the best idea. It's what I would recommend, which is to start an astronomy club at the university. I've had people ask me, how do I start an astronomy club? And I said, well, you just get everybody together and decide what to do. And she said, well, I don't know anybody else here. I don't know if there's anybody interested. Well, you know what? There are a lot of people interested, and you put something out and say, we're going to meet at this time, you'll get people there. I guarantee you, because there are so many people interested in it. And that getting together with others is the best way to brainstorm, to come up with ideas about what it is you can do. If you have a telescope, you can do outreach with the telescope, which is a fantastic way to get publicity and get people aware. And you put it out every weekend, twice, every 2 weeks or something like that, and people get to learn about it. More people will come. If you don't have a telescope, if you have binoculars, you can do it. And honestly, if you don't have anything, you can still do it because nobody looks at the sky. You can point out what the constellations are, and people will be glad to see that. And if there's a planet, that's what the planet is, and you show them pictures. I know groups that have done outreach with the public with no optics at all. If you get something that's put together and becomes official, sustainable, maybe we can help you get something eventually, but not really right at the start. And the university is a great place to do this to get, first of all, it's a really good area to start, but also to get publicity. If you get the attention of the people who are the leaders at the university, that you can eventually, through them, they'll know the political leaders and so on. So I think you're in the right place and you have the right idea. What works in your country is not something I can say, but probably the best thing is to gather other people and to get some attention to the subject, and people start getting interested, and then you can explain why this is important. As far as getting women into the field, it just has to be as welcoming as possible. Most I know countries where it's mostly women who are in astronomy. In Iran, which I mentioned, it's mostly by far women, young women in it. And that's a surprise to everybody because it again is a society that doesn't value women as much, especially in rural areas. But this is an area where they dominate. And so it just needs to be welcoming and encourage people to come. And if there is a cultural issue where they feel like, well, they're getting together, but it's not something that I can do, you just encourage them. You have a flyer that says the astronomy club is meeting, and women are encouraged. It just has to be open and welcoming to everybody. I'll be glad to help if there's something that I can do, maybe to have a discussion with you remotely like this sometime. It's, easy. I don't have to travel all the way to Zambia. These days, it's very easy to get on Zoom and talk to people everywhere. And but that's a great first step as far as the whole country. I also know one other person there I've known for a long time, Prosperi Simpemba. Do you know him?
Prosperous Mpemba, yes, is at Cobalt University. I was with him in South Africa during the AGM, so we've been talking with them. But at the university where he is, there's something that is going on. They are doing something. But at
Yeah.
our university, that's where we have a problem with that. I know we had an interaction one-on-one during the conference, and even after. I think the issue is maybe where we are. It's the people that are in sciences that have not taken up this initiative to begin to promote the astronomy. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm in touch with him. He was a very important resource person during my research when I was researching on the women in astronomy in the Zambian situation. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and it is an issue too that people are very enthusiastic when they're younger about something, and then they go to school. They might go out of the country and get a PhD, or they're very involved in that, and things change, and people get busy, or they get connected at a higher level, and then they work at that level. So you can't count on everybody, but people can help. People can support what you're doing. But I think the young, enthusiastic students are the best source because they're going to want to do the most. So, yeah, I would say do that, start a club. You can write to me or, we can talk. I'm glad to help encourage people to join or answer questions about why astronomy should be there.
I agree. I agree. That's a good point, Mike.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dua. Thank you, Sana. I don't know if anyone else have something to add before we close the meeting. All right. So I think everything is okay for today. Thank you so much again, Mike, for your availability, for your time, for the nice presentation, and for being here with us today to talk about astronomy for equity and also equality. Thank you again, everyone, for being here with us, with Mike, and yeah, see you the next Astro Talk.
Thank you, Maisa.